Okay. Good morning, grade 7. Today we will talk about the outer planets. Number 1. What do the outer planets have in common? Or what are the common characteristics between the outer planets? Number 1. The outer planets include Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. They are located after asteroid belt. Okay, and when we see the photo of outer planet, we notice that the outer planets are called gaseous giant planets because they have more massive mass than Earth. Because Earth is the biggest one in inner planets. Okay, and so the outer planets, okay, have more massive masses than Earth. Number 2, the common characteristics between them: they are far from the sun, and they are located after asteroid belt. Asteroid belt is located after Mars planet. Number 3, when we note the outer planets, okay, we see that they have no solid surface because they are made mainly of gases. Okay, Jupiter and Saturn composed mainly of hydrogen and helium, and Uranus and Neptune contain hydrogen and helium, but also they have ices of ammonia and methane. Okay, again, the outer planets are called gaseous giant planets because they have no solid surface, but their surfaces consist mainly or composed mainly of gases. Okay, Jupiter and Saturn composed mainly of hydrogen and helium, but Uranus and Neptune contain hydrogen and helium, but also ices of ammonia gas and methane gas. Number 4, outer planets have more massive masses, so logically they have a very strong gravitational force, okay, that keeps gases from escaping and form around them a thick atmosphere. So when you ask you explain the presence of thick atmosphere around the outer planets, the answer will be due to the presence of very strong gravitational force. Okay. Number 5, much of material in these planets in liquid state. Why? Due to the presence of high pressure inside these planets, which can change gases on these planets into liquid. Number 6, all of them have moons. Okay, ranging from 13 around Neptune and more than 60 around Jupiter. Okay, and the most characteristics distinguish the outer planets the presence of set of rings. All of them are surrounded by a set of rings, but the most distinguished one, the largest rings around Saturn planet. What's meant by rings, or what are the rings composed of? Rings is a thin disk of small particles of ice and rocks which rotate around the planet. And Saturn rings are the largest and the most complex one. Okay? Again, we will talk about the outer planets and their characteristics or the common characteristics between them. Number 1, they are gaseous giant planets, okay, and they have more massive masses than Earth. They are far from the sun and they are located after asteroid belt. They have no solid surface. Jupiter and Saturn composed mainly of hydrogen and helium. Uranus and Neptune contain hydrogen and helium, but also ices of ammonia and methane. Number 4, They have very strong gravitational force which keeps gases, okay, and form a thick atmosphere around them. All of them have moons, okay, and all of them surrounded by a set of rings. Much of the material in these planets in liquid state due to the presence of high pressure inside these planets. Now, we will talk about each outer planets in details, and we will start with Jupiter. Look at the figure in front of you. Jupiter. Jupiter is considered the largest and the most massive and huge planets in the solar system. Okay, so when we talk about the largest planets in the solar system, we will talk about the Jupiter. Its mass is about 2.5 times that all other planets combined. Okay, so it's very huge. Number 2, it had a thick atmosphere made mainly of hydrogen and helium. And when we see the figure in front of you, we see a great red spot, okay, on its surface. Great red spot, okay, it's considered a storm that is swirling winds and looks like hurricane. Okay, this is a great red spot. Astronomers think that Jupiter probably has a dense core. What's meant by dense core? Dense core means the internal structure of the Jupiter. Okay, so the scientists think that Jupiter probably had a dense core, okay, of rock and iron, and the thick mantle of liquid hydrogen and helium surrounded this core. So its core is dense, consists of rocks and iron, and is surrounded by a thick mantle of liquid hydrogen and helium. Why hydrogen and helium in liquid state inside or the internal structure of the Jupiter? Due to the very high pressure inside the Jupiter planets. Number 2, the second one in outer planets is Saturn. Saturn, the second largest planet after Jupiter, and it had a thick atmosphere composed mainly of hydrogen and helium and contain clouds and storms. So its atmosphere contain or composed mainly of hydrogen and helium and contain clouds and storms. Saturn has the most spectacular rings or a most distinguished rings of any planet because they are made of chunks of ice and rocks, and each ring traveling in its own orbits and rotate around the Saturn. Titan's surface photo, Saturn's largest moon. Saturns have many moons, okay, and the largest one called Titan. Okay, Titan moon is larger than Mercury, and it's also the only moon has a thick atmosphere. Composed mainly of nitrogen and methane. Titan's surface photos show features, okay, that may have been formed by flowing liquid. So, again, the photo of Titan's surface show that the presence of liquid water. So, many scientists think that Titan may support life due to the presence of liquid water. Again, Saturn, the second largest planet in the solar system, had a thick atmosphere consist of hydrogen and helium, and its atmosphere contain also clouds and storm. Saturn characterized by presence of distinguished rings, okay, which made of chunks or pieces of ice and rocks, and traveling around the Saturn in its own orbit. Saturn has many moons, okay, and the largest one called the Titan. Titan had a thick atmosphere composed of nitrogen and methane, and its surface photo shows that the presence of flowing liquid or the flowing water, which might support life. The third one, an outer planet called Uranus. Uranus, much smaller than Jupiter and Saturn, and it's much colder because there is a huge distance between Saturn and the Sun. It's twice as far from the Sun and the Saturn. Okay? Again. Uranus, smaller than Jupiter and Saturn, has a smaller size when we compared it with Jupiter and Saturn, and it characterized by it is a much colder. Okay? Why? Because it is twice as far from the Sun as Saturn. So there is a huge distance between Uranus and the Sun. When we look at the figure in front of you or the photo of the Saturn, we notice that it looks blue-green. Why? Why its color? It looks blue-green due to the presence of traces of methane gas in its atmosphere, which cause this color. Uranus is surrounded by a group of thin flat rings. Okay? And it has 27 moons. Uranus' 5 largest moons have icy created surface, and also have lava flow on their surface. Again, Uranus has at least 27 moons. Okay, the 5 largest moons have icy created surface and also have lava flow in their surface. And the most characteristic which distinguish Uranus, its axis. Uranus' axis of rotation is tilted at angle of about 90 degrees from vertical. So it rotates from top to bottom, not from left to right, but it rotates from top to bottom due to the Uranus tilted axis. And Uranus rings and Uranus's moon rotate around this tilted axis. The astronomers think that Uranus tilted axis is due to that the billion of years ago an object hit Uranus and knocked it on its surface, which causes its tilted axis, and it causes its rotation from top to bottom. The last one in outer planets is Neptune. Look at the figure in front of you. Neptune is similar in size and color to Uranus. It's very cold. It has a blue color, okay, and its color comes from the presence of methane gas in its atmosphere. Its atmosphere contains also visible cloud. Neptune's interior or internal structure is very hot, okay, due to the energy left over from its formation. And Neptune also has a great dark spot. Jupiter has a great red spot, but Neptune has a great dark spot. Okay? And the scientists think that it's probably happened due to a giant storm, which caused a great dark spot on the surface of Neptune. It has at least 13 moons, and the largest one has a thin atmosphere, and its south pole is covered by nitrogen ice. Okay. Thank you, Grade 7. Goodbye.